It's not so hard to make someone dislike you, whether you're interacting online or in real life. If you share something overly personal too soon, or hide your emotions, for example, you may unwittingly repel people. Even the smell of your sweat or a hard to pronounce last name can be things that are out of your control and can be turnoffs. Generally speaking, you've only got a few seconds to make someone want to spend more time with you. And in those precious few seconds, everything matters. From your last name to the smell of your sweat. Unfair and gross, we know. Welcome to another episode of Fast Facts. Subscribe to our channel to stay up to date with the latest uploads. Okay, let's get into today's video. Asking someone questions without talking about yourself at all. That same 2013 study found that an important caveat to the idea that self-disclosure predicts closeness. It has to be mutual. People generally like you less if you don't reciprocate when they disclose something intimate. In the study, unacquainted participants either engaged in back and forth self-disclosure or took turns self-disclosing for 12 minutes each, while the other listened. Results showed that participants in the back and forth group liked each other significantly more. As the authors write, although shy or socially anxious people may ask questions of the other to detract attention from themselves, our research shows that this is not a good strategy for relationship initiation. Both participants in an interaction need to disclose to generate mutual closeness and liking. Posting a close-up profile photo. If your LinkedIn profile features an image of your face practically smushed up against the camera, you'd be wise to change it. Research from California Institute of Technology suggests that faces photographed from just 45 centimeters away are considered less trustworthy, attractive, and competent than faces photographed from 135 centimeters away. Hiding your emotions. Research suggests that letting your real feelings come through is a better strategy for getting people to like you than bottling it all up. In one 2016 study, University of Oregon researchers videotaped people watching two movie scenes, the fake orgasm part of the movie When Harry Met Sally, and a sad scene from The Champ. In some cases, the actors were instructed to react naturally. In another, they were instructed to suppress their emotions. College students then watched the 4 versions of the videos. Researchers measured how much interest the students expressed in befriending the people in the videos, as well as their assessments of the personalities of the people in the videos. Results showed that suppressors were judged less likable, as well as extroverted and agreeable, than people who emoted naturally. The researchers write, people do not pursue close relationships indiscriminately. They probably look for people who are likely to reciprocate their investments. So when perceivers detect that someone is hiding their emotions, they may interpret that as a disinterest in the things that emotional expression facilitates, like closeness, social support, and interpersonal coordination. Acting too nice. It makes logical sense that the nicer and more altruistic you seem, the more people will like you, but some science suggests otherwise. In a 2010 study, researchers at Washington State University and the Desert Research Institute had college students play a computer game with 4 other players, who were really manipulations by the researchers. Some of the fake participants would give up lots of points and only take a few vouchers, a rather altruistic behavior. But as it turns out, most participants said they wouldn't want to work with their unselfish teammate again. In a similar follow-up experiment in the same study, some said the unselfish teammate made them look bad. Others suspected they had ulterior motives. Humble bragging. In an effort to impress friends and potential employers, some people disguise bragging as self-criticism. This behavior, otherwise known as humble bragging, could be a turnoff, according to a recent study from Harvard Business School. In the study, college students were asked to write down how they'd answer a question about their biggest weakness in a job interview. Results showed that more than 3/4 of participants humble bragged, usually about being a perfectionist or working too hard. Yet, independent research assistants said they'd be more likely to hire their participants who were honest and found them significantly more likable. Those students said things like, "I'm not always the best at staying organized," and "Sometimes I overreact to situations." Another alternative in a job interview situation is to talk about weaknesses that don't directly relate to the position. So for example, a fear of public speaking if you're applying for a writing position. Getting too nervous. Never let him see or smell your sweat. Research suggests that the odor of your nervous sweat may subconsciously influence people's judgments of your personality. In 2013, researchers at the Monell Chemical Senses Center had participants watch videos of women in everyday situations like working in an office and taking care of a child. While watching the videos, they sniffed 3 kinds of sweat: sweat that someone had produced while exercising, sweat produced during a stressful situation, and sweat produced during a stressful situation that had been covered up with antiperspirant. Participants were then asked to rate the women on how competent, confident, and trustworthy they seemed. Results showed that participants rated the women lower on all measures when they smelled the stress-induced sweat. When they smelled the stress sweat that had been covered up with antiperspirant, they rated the women more positively. Not smiling. When you're at a networking event and meeting lots of new people, it can be hard to keep a smile plastered on your face, but try anyway. In the University of Wyoming study, nearly 100 undergraduate women looked at photos of another woman in one of 4 poses: smiling in an open body position, smiling in a closed body position, not smiling in an open body position, or not smiling in a closed body position. And results showed that the woman in the photo was liked most when she was smiling, regardless of her body position. More recently, researchers at Stanford University and the University of Duisburg-Essen found that students who interacted with each other through avatars felt more positively about the interaction when the avatar displayed a bigger smile, including a smiling emoticon in an email. Here's where things get confusing. Even though smiling in person can make you more likable, research suggests smiling virtually can work to your detriment, especially in more formal settings. A 2017 paper, published by researchers in Israel and the Netherlands, found that including smiling emoticons in an email makes you seem less competent and doesn't even make you seem warmer. In the first of a series of studies, participants read an email that included either just text or text plus a smiley. The email was written by a hypothetical project teammate. Results showed that the hypothetical teammate was perceived as only slightly warmer and as significantly less competent when the person included a smiley. Having a hard to pronounce name. We know this one's really not fair, but here's the science. A 2012 study by researchers at the University of Melbourne, the University of Leuven, and New York University found that people with more complicated last names are judged more negatively. In one experiment included in the study, undergraduate participants read a mock newspaper article about a man running for an upcoming local council election. Some participants read about a man with a relatively easy to pronounce last name. Others read about a man with a harder to pronounce name. And as it turns out, participants who'd read about the man with the simpler name said that candidate was a better fit for the government position than participants who'd read about the man with the more complicated name. Name dropping. It can be tempting to mention that famous author who graduated from your alma mater in order to impress your conversation partner, but the tactic can backfire. That's according to researchers at the University of Zurich. In 2009, they published a paper suggesting that name dropping makes people seem both less likable and less competent. Results showed that the stronger the supposed association between the partner and Federer, the less participants liked their partner. The researchers found that was largely because participants felt their partners were manipulative. Offering a weak handshake. Extend a limp noodle to a new acquaintance, and you could undermine the positive impression you're trying to make. According to psychologist John D. Mayer, writing on Psychology Today, a 2000 University of Alabama study found that people could predict the personalities of undergraduates they shook hands with. Specifically, people rating handshakes intuited that the students with firm handshakes were more positive, more outgoing, and less socially anxious. Meanwhile, a 2018 study published in the Journal of Applied Psychology found that in mock interviews, students who had a firmer handshake at the beginning of the interview were ultimately perceived as more hireable. And with that, we've reached the end of this video. If you enjoyed it and you found it helpful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.